Welcome into All Things LA Real Estate. My name is PK Knoll. I'm running point on this channel. We're heading back out to Glendale for your November real estate update, one of the nicest areas in the eastern part of Los Angeles. If you're not familiar with where it's at, it basically sits straight north up from downtown, just southwest of the Pasadena area. But great place to live, very high home prices. We're going to break it all down for you. We're going to get into current statistics, month over month, year over year. End of the video, I'm going to break down a few homes that are on the market currently, try and find you some value with homes that have caught my eye. Let's go. Jumping right into what's going on out in Glendale with the current statistics. Now, in last month's video, we highlighted the fact that we had an average home sale price drop of $250K. We've gotten some back from that, but we're seeing a lot of slowing in the market, and it's not just your typical winter month slowing. We're seeing a lot of things just being affected. Obviously, in the real estate game, we're dealing with low inventory, high prices, and obviously our rates are still high. We did not get a hike from Jerome Powell last time he was out. We got one more meeting this year, so we'll see how things, when that initially happened, we had the biggest drop we've had all year, but we're still sitting at the time of this video right around a 7.5 interest rate, which makes it very hard to finance most homes on the east side that are in that upper tier, but we're out there searching. We have 40 homes available for sale in Glendale currently. We're starting to see that number slowly creep down, right? We were at 48, 45. Last month was 44. We're down to 40. So we're just not seeing a lot of new homes come onto the market. Hopefully that number can stay consistent. We can jump back up in December as some people try and prep up to sell their home into the new year. 9 of those homes have seen price drops. So that's pretty typical to see numbers like that. That's 23%. That's normal market, normal real estate market. You'd be like, what's happening in Glendale? Is crime through the roof to have 23% of the homes listed doing price drops? That's just not the case. There's just not a lot of buyer demand at this interest rate. So we are seeing 20 and 30% drops consistently throughout the east side. So nothing to really be concerned about, but there's a number we're watching there where I anticipate we could see that number jump even higher. The low end right now to get in the neighborhood is we only have one home available for sale under $1 million. That home's at $950K. Brand new listing. We're going to talk about that home in the final segment of homes that have caught my eye, but nothing else under $1 million in Glendale right now. Top end, $3.5 million. House that is familiar to all of us who have been following along month over month. We'll touch on that at the end of the video as well. Average price right now, we're staying consistent, 1.78, 848. Consistently, we're seeing that number, in the 1.7s, 1.8s in some respects. So that gives us some insight as far as what's going on specifically with the neighborhood. That's one of the metrics I'm paying attention to on a month-over-month basis if I'm a homeowner and if I'm interested to see if my home is appreciating. Now, normally in Los Angeles, that's not something you would worry about. If you're a long-term mortgage homeowner, you shouldn't worry about it, but that's one of the metrics that will give you an instance. Obviously, your specific neighborhood is going to be a little bit more of a guide to you, but the overall Glendale city is obviously going to give you some insight. Days in the market, this is the number I'm watching vividly in Glendale. We've talked about this a lot. We're up to 57 days on average for days on market, and we've seen that number go 42, 44, 49, 57. And truly the golden number that we see in the real estate game is 60. So once that days on market gets to above 60, that's when we're going to start to see more price drops. It's just inevitable. The reality of it is like if you're a homeowner and you're like, all right, I need to sell my home for whatever reason, relocation, upgrading, whatever the situation is, nobody has the anticipation of sitting for 2 months without getting that home with an offer on it. So once that 2-month mark happens, that's typically when that tough conversation happens between your realtor and yourself. And price drops is one of the only tools you really have, unless the realtor is going to go out of their way to, do marketing and try and get some extra eyes in the home, which it doesn't seem like a whole lot of realtors do any extra marketing. But I digress. November of 2022, we had 25 homes sell at 102% clip. There was a huge drop off this time last year as we went from 40 to 36 down to 25. So that's kind of a typical winter perspective. Less people want to buy a home in November and December, because essentially the holidays and it's more hectic and their kids are in school. So we'll keep our eye on that. I probably anticipate that to happen once again this year, but I'll let you know on next month's update for Glendale. Subscribe to the channel if you want to stay in tune with this stuff on a monthly basis. I break everything down as far as the numbers and the markets go. But let's go jump into last month. If you're somebody who is searching in Glendale right now, what's most relevant is what's most recent. So let's go see specifically what happened down in Glendale in October. As we jump into last month, as our homes available for sale drop, our sales are starting to slowly drop as well, because we only have 28 homes that sold last month, 36, 37, 31 last month, and then 28 in October. So that number is starting to slowly dwindle, as you can expect, with the amount of homes available going lower and just the reality of the real estate game. That number is slowly trickling. 101% clip, so 1% on average above that list price. That's a number to keep your eye on as far as some consistency in the neighborhood goes. It gives you some insight if you're a buyer, so you have some knowledge as far as where you might want to come in for an offer. If you do see a home that's attractive to you, you watch that kind of percentage mark, because most people can legitimately price their home based off the comps and based off a market analysis. Not very hard to do. I could teach an eighth grader with some math sense how to do that. So when you see that 1%, whatever the neighborhood, 4% out in Pasadena on average, you know that you probably got to go over that. To give you a little bit more insight of what that means, basically, if it's $1 million listed home, and I know consistently out in Glendale we're seeing 101% as far as the averages go, I know I got to at least go 10K over that price. So keep your eye on that number. If you're a home owner, that's kind of one of the other metrics that give you some insight as far as, is my home appreciating? Now, the market always dictates whenever you decide to sell. The market makes the decision as far as who's out there trying to purchase, and that inevitably will let you know what the appreciation happens. But you can see incremental gains over time, and this is one of the metrics that you would take a peek at if you were going to do that. The minimum sale last month, $749K. It sold right at the list price. So pretty solid deal for that individual getting in, because like I said, now we've jumped up to $950 as far as the minimum end goes. Top end, we had a home sale for $4.735. That is the biggest home sale in Glendale we have seen in months. It did go $565K under the list price, so it's listed well over $5 million. They only got an offer for $4.735. Reality, that is 11% under where it was listed. So not too extreme. I know $535,000 sounds like a wild number to most, kind of middle class individuals, but it was only 11% that they did have to kind of settle. But that's just the reality of the top end side of these markets, right? You're just not going to get anybody, for the most part, that is willing to finance when we're getting up into a $5 million pricing range. So you're really just kind of mitigating yourself to only cash buyers, which is normal in the $5 million range. But we're seeing that kind of information, that kind of stuff go down even in the $2 million and $3 million range with where rates are right now. Average home sale price, 1.892531. That's very high. Like I said, last month we had the 250K drop. We were typically around like 1.6. We're at 1.7 as far as August goes, and then we saw September drop 250K. Now we've jumped way back up, obviously with only 28 homes selling, and one of those homes selling for the record for the year. That's where that kind of explains where that big jump is. But we'll keep our eye on it. Typically out in Glendale, we see that number closer to 1.6. That's a good number if you're a home buyer as well, because if you can get in and purchase a home under that average sale price, you have room, and you're not on kind of the top end, which is more vulnerable, especially right now, especially if you're financing. It's not something you want to take on, which is any vulnerability when it comes to the value of your home, the opportunity to appreciate. We're going to talk about that more in homes that have caught my eye when I try and find you some value. Average days on market for the homes that sold was 19. That number is typically between 15 and 30, because there's always a couple homes that come onto the market, do one round open houses, and they sell. A realtor's dream, a home seller's dream. So that number's 19, nothing to worry about there. We took a peek into October 2022, 36 homes sell, 102% clip. So 2% on average over that list price, 22% decline year over year, from 36 down to 28. We're seeing, consistently, if you've been following along with any of these east side, I do all the neighborhoods on the east side: Pasadena, La Cañada, Cypress Park, Silver Lake, Echo Park, Mount Washington, Highland Park, all the works. We see consistently a lot of months and a lot of neighborhoods on the east side that are seeing 20 and 30% drops year over year. We just don't have the inventory. We're not going to have the inventory until people just kind of settle in on the reality of living in a world with 7% interest rates, or when interest rates possibly drop. That gives us some opportunities for people who have, because the majority of homeowners have interest rates below 6, so it's tough for them to sell and get back into a 7% interest rate. But let's jump over to homes that have caught my eye. I'm going to find you some value in the neighborhood. Homes that have caught my eye. For those of you who are new here, here's what we do. We're going to break down the entry level. What's it look like from a minimum perspective to get into the neighborhood? Then we're going to do PK's top pick in past years that might have been a great neighborhood that I love in Glendale. It might have been a house with incredible amenities. Maybe it's, in a school district that I'm adamant about getting into. But with the current climate of the real estate game, it is going to be a value play. It is going to be a numbers play every single time. Because if I'm somebody who's advising you on homes right now, you have to go get a home that has less risk, needs to have good potential for appreciation, because you do not want to buy a home that is not valued at where it should be. Purchase that home, it lowers in price, you go underwater, can't refinance if that day comes. That's why we do that. And then we're going to look at the top dog. What's the ceiling look like in the neighborhood? What are those homes going for? Let's go. Entry level. First up, let's do a little housekeeping. The August house, we've been tracking that one, 1007 San Rafael, withdrawn. We expected it. September's low ball was 1006 North Kenilworth. That one is under contract, so still active. Last month they did get an offer currently, so they're under contract. We're going to keep our eye on it. We're seeing a record number around the country of homes go under contract and then fail in escrow, because obviously, a lot of times what it comes down to with that is people getting qualified for loans, and as rates fluctuate, their qualifications can fluctuate as well. They don't know that. They have the offer sheet, they make the offer, they get into escrow, and things fail out, or there could be things wrong with the home. So we'll keep our eye on it. I'll keep you updated next month and let you know if that deal goes through. Our low dog last month was 1131 Sonora Avenue. That was that one listed for $895,000. It is under contract as well. We love that home. It's just north of Glen Oaks there, up on the north side of Glendale. So we anticipated some offers came in on that one at the $895 mark. There just wasn't a lot of other value in that price range. We like the home. We like the comps. We like the numbers. But only home under $1 million right now in Glendale is 1120 Boynton Street. 2 bedrooms, 2 baths, 1,071 square feet. As I've mentioned multiple times, listed for $950K. Let's dive into the numbers of this home. $887 per square foot. That's fine. Normally under $1 million on the east side, I prefer that number to be below 800. 500 to 700 is beautiful. Glendale is more popular, 887. I'm fine with it. The lot's 5268, pretty solid. Kind of the low end when it comes to these houses under $1 million on the east side. You'll see lots of like 3,000. So 5278 gives you a little bit more room to work. There is also a garage that they say could be possibly turned into an ADU, which means they haven't permitted to be done with. ADUs is just part of the real estate culture now. Affordability is the lowest it's been in decades. That's just the reality of things in so many homes in LA. Like, they're not even promoting garages or back houses. Everything's an ADU now. And they just passed a law in California that just passed last week that gives you the opportunity to sell your ADU. So basically just like sanction off, that portion of your home, sell it so you can bring in some extra money. Obviously there would be an easement situation there. If you're not familiar with an easement, it basically gives people the rights to certain parts of maybe your property. So to give you some essence of as what that means is, like, if there was a back, garage that you turn into an ADU, you sold it as an ADU, someone purchased it for, let's say $350K. they would have an easement to use your property, meaning like the driveway or the walkways to get back to their house. That's just the law. That's what happens in all those situations. Weird thing here is that this home got listed in June of this year for $898,000. The people who currently own it bought it in July for $765,000. So they got it for about $133,000 less than it was listed for. Not really any visible improvements to the home since that point, since July, and now they've listed it at $950K. So it's probably an element of understanding that there's no other competition on the low end in Glendale, but they're trying to pick up a cool $185K off of this home in just a couple of months. Gonna check into that. That can be a major red flag. Maybe there are some major renovations, things that they did, which maybe would explain it if this is a flipper. But if it's somebody who's just, was looking for a single family residence and they're already looking to move on in just a couple of months, we need to do some digging to find out exactly what that is, because that could be a neighbor, whatever the situation. Crime's not bad in Glendale. It's not an area I'd worry about there. Homelessness isn't bad in Glendale. They don't mess with that. There's certain areas in LA that don't mess with no homeless, and Glendale is one of them. So probably not that, but it could be a neighbor. It could be something, unexpected with the home. So you make sure if you're working with an agent that they really do their homework, dive deep on this. If you need an agent to help you look, reach out to me. Happy to help. Jump over to PK's top pick. September's top pick was at 1218 Yale Street. Just wanted to close the book on that one. It was under contract last month. It is sold now. We love that home. Love that home on Yale Street. Then we had October 1865 Verdugo Knoll Drive. That was the $1.564 million home. They were the ones who were offering the 3.5% interest rate, meaning it was a buyer takeover. So what they did is they had, let's assume it was a 30-year mortgage. They had X amount of years left on their home. They bought it at 3.5% interest rate to try and, bring in buyers. They offered you the opportunity to take over their mortgage. So basically you would be taking over their mortgage with that bank from them. The major advantage from a buyer perspective is you get their rate. So that was a huge advantage, but they didn't get any takers on this one. They have withdrawn it. So unfortunately, that was a very motivated seller there to make that offer. They have something interesting going on in their life. Hopefully it's a positive interesting and not a negative interesting, but we don't really know about the personal side of things there. But that home is gone. So we liked it because there's that opportunity for, to buy into a low interest rate. We like the neighborhoods. We like the house. And the pricing was pretty solid, a little bit under the averages out in Glendale, so it gave us some opportunities there. But we're going to jump into this month. It's 1874 Los Encinos Avenue, 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, 2146 square feet. It's listed for $1.399, so just under $1.4 million, $651 per square foot. Love it. Absolutely love it. That is a great bang for your buck as far as the size of the home. 2146 is extremely livable in any type of east side home. And 651 shows you got some bang for your buck. 8534 is the lot. Great lot size, mid-century gem here. So beautiful home. There is a 500 per square foot unfinished building in the back. So obviously these people were jumping on the ADU train as well. Maybe it was something where they were, planning to sell and they wanted to build in the ADU to bring up the value, to jump this to like a 4,326.46. As far as the numbers go, and for whatever reason, they had to stop that project, but there's some availability for that. And this is in Verdugo Woodlands. So if you're not familiar with that neighborhood out in Glendale, super pristine neighborhood. Absolutely love it. Typically home sell 1.5, 1.6. So getting in at 1.4 is just the value that I'm looking for. There's a saying in real estate that you never buy the nicest house, you buy the cheapest, and you make incremental improvements. So it guarantees appreciation. There's some holes in that argument, but the reality is if you get into 1.4 to live in Verdugo Woodlands, it's a good investment because the homes around you are high value, high individuals, high homes. So it gives you some good opportunities. I love this house. You're coming in below that average as well as far as the entire city of Glendale goes. As like I mentioned, we normally see that number about a 1.6. So it gives you some value there. That's exactly what I'm looking for with PK's top pick. I want a home that's just painting me the picture of a lot of opportunities for potential appreciation because it makes me feel better about the purchase and getting into the neighborhood. And let's finish things off with the top dog. A little bit of house cleaning. September's top dog was 3318 Deer Creek, still active. That was that $3.5 million home. We've only had two sales, three sales now with last month over $3 million in Glendale. So it's just a tough. You just don't have people who can afford to finance at that mark. Sneaky move by this home, though. I do want to point out is people get discouraged when they see homes that have high days on market. In a normal real estate, that's maybe a red flag. Something's wrong. It's really just kind of discouraging, just a bad luck to be sitting on the market for a long time. So what they did at this home, and I see this a lot these days, is they took it completely off. So they made it, no longer available for sale. They canceled it, and then they just immediately relisted it. So it's a way to kind of make it look like a brand new listing, which kind of pops on a lot of people's radars, right? You'll see realtors do this for people all the time. They're like, all right, here's all of your filters. Here's all of your preferences. You'll get binged immediately when a home in your price range, meeting your criteria, comes onto the market. And, this would obviously re-ping anybody who was a buyer that was looking in that range. Taking a quick look into October, it was that 830 Harrington Road. That one is still active as well. That one was the one that was listed for $3 million. It was the one that didn't have straight pictures, meaning the pictures were all tilted, which is, it just blows my mind what some of these realtors are doing out there. It's $3 million home and they're not getting professional pictures, which for most realtors, that's like all they do. They post it to all the places you should, and they just pay to have somebody take pictures. And the fact that they don't get professional pictures on a $3 million house when they're trying to get, essentially the commissions off that is, $75K. It's insane to me. And, I don't know. I try to be positive, but I just can't. This is also the one that was boasting 99% construction completed. I went to this house. It is not 99% construction completed. First of all, if it is 99% construction completed and you're about to sell it, do the 1% and finish it off. Secondly, this home needs way more work than 1% construction. So needs a little bit of work. We didn't love it at $3 million. We didn't anticipate it sells. It's still active. No shocker there. But we got a new one to go. We're just going to move down the list so we don't be repetitive. 1975 Deermont Road, 4 bedrooms, 4 baths, 3472 square feet, listed for $2.899, $777. They've had over 100,000 price drop. I believe 100K, 222 price drop on this home. So it was listed for just just under $3 million. They brought it all the way down to $2.899 plus $835 per square foot. We like that. When you get into the upper end in any neighborhood on the east side, you'll typically see the per square footage number get to 1,000. So we are fine with $835. The lot's ginormous, 14,263. You can do anything you want with that side of the lot. The views here are incredible. It sits right in the hills. It's in a cul-de-sac. One thing you got to be careful with on the east side is that cul-de-sac name. There's a lot of neighborhoods on the east side where it's just more of a dead end. If you grew up where I grew up in the suburbs, a cul-de-sac is a wide cul-de-sac, right? But a lot of the cul-de-sacs on the east side are missing the sac part, and it's just like a dead-end road, and they're kind of skinny. This one has a legit cul-de-sac, which is nice. You always like that. A little bit safer, less traction, less traffic as well. So pool and jacuzzi at this house, beautiful. It's in Brockmount, one of the most pristine neighborhoods in Glendale. That is where our $4.7 million home from last month sold. There's also been one for 3.7. So most of our sales over 3 million in Glendale this year are in Brockmount, one of the most pristine neighborhoods in Glendale. Love this home. I think, it's tough. It's just tough in the $2.9 million, $3 million range right now to sell a home. So I'm not going to say I expect this one to jump off the board because it probably needs a cash buyer. But I do like the home. And if you're in that price range, want to get into probably the best neighborhood in Glendale, give it a look. Thank you so much for watching the video. We do this every single month for almost every neighborhood on the east side. We're doing Pasadena, Silver Lake, Eagle Rock, Highland Park, Glendale, La Cañada, El Sereno, Cypress Park. The list goes on and on. So like and subscribe to the channel if you are so inclined. If you're somebody who's looking to purchase a home on the east side of Los Angeles or sell your home, I am happy to help out with you. Reach out to me. You can send me a direct message online, or all of my phone numbers are listed. Even if you're somebody who's hesitant with 7% interest rates, that puts us in the same boat. It always helps to start preparing for future opportunities because you don't want to miss the boat there. We will tread lightly. We will look for value, and we will get it done. I also do a ton of other videos. I get into the schools. I get into, the restaurants in the neighborhood. I get into the attractions in the neighborhood. I do some other fun videos like quick cribs. So once again, like and subscribe if you are so inclined. Have a great day. Be kind.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.